Welcome everybody, it is Mahmood Mauji here and congratulations for downloading the Create Your Ultimate Life program. I'm so happy, I'm so glad that you've joined me on this journey. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you my 5-step strategy on how to create the life that you've always wanted, the life of your dreams. You may not get this at first, just like anything, repetition. So just like anything in life, if you can remember when you're learning to tie your shoelaces, when you were learning to drive, you didn't just get in the car and start driving. You didn't just learn how to play a sport all in one go. What you did is you tried and you tried and you tried. So this 5-step method over here, if you can put this into practice and if you can practice this every single day, then life for you is going to be totally different. But I want to tell you a few things before we start. Now this 5-step method, normally I run seminars for 2 to 3 days where I get people in and we're kind of working out and we're really kind of doing this physically, because there's 3 ways of learning. You can either listen and you're taking about 20%. You can either write things down, you're taking about 40%. But when you actually play full out, when you're making noise, when you're doing the exercise, when you're really giving it your all, you actually take in about 90%. So I want you to take in about 90%, but because I'm not there with you physically, I can't get you to kind of jump around and say yes Mahmood and hands up, and I can't get you to do all of those things which I'd normally do with you if I had you for 2 to 3 days with me. What I want you to do is I want you to play full out. I want you to immerse yourself in this. I want you to give as much energy to this as you can, because that's the way in which you're going to learn. You see, without emotion, without energy, knowledge doesn't really stay. Let me ask you a question. How many times have you maybe been to a seminar or you've listened to an audio program before, but at the back end of it, you came away thinking, yeah, I'm going to do so much, and you've made this big kind of manual and then you put it on your shelf and it becomes shelf help rather than self-help because you don't do anything about it. Or you've come out of a seminar thinking, yeah, you know what, I'm really fired up, but in the end you didn't take any action and nothing happened. Why? Because when there isn't the energy or the emotion behind the actual information, it doesn't stay, it doesn't last. So if I was to ask you, can you remember what you were doing on 9/11? You'll straight away be able to remember that I was doing this. Like, I remember at 9/11 exactly what I was doing when the planes hit the Twin Towers, when I actually saw the news of the planes hitting the Twin Towers. But then, so if you remember what you were doing on 9/11 clearly, what if now I asked you, can you tell me what you're doing on 8/11? It's not that easy to remember, right? You probably won't be able to remember what you were doing on the 8th. Question is why? Because on 9/11 there was energy, there was emotion attached to what you did on that day. That's why you remember. So if I can get you to put a lot of emotion, a lot of energy behind what you're learning right now, it'll last, it'll stick. You'll be able to carry it out, you'll be able to go and make this work, and you'll be able to design the life which you've always wanted. Okay, so let's get the energy levels up. If you feel you're dozing at times, just pause, come back to it, rewind, but just make sure that you're on energy level 10. See, so I always say in life, there's an energy scale of between 1 and 10, where 1 is hardly anything, but 10 is that pure level of energy. Most people live life on energy level 1, 2 and 3, and the question is why? And it's because most people are in their comfort zones. They're safe, but safety is never going to get you anywhere. Comfort's never going to get you anywhere. I need to get you out onto energy level 7, 8, 9 and 10. I was coaching a billionaire client last year, and when I met that client, I remember that he was in energy level 2 and 3, and the question was why? It's because he didn't have that zest for life anymore. And when he started getting to level 7, 8, 9 and 10, businesses started changing, relationships started changing, everything in his life started changing. So no matter whether you're a billionaire or whether you're a startup or whether you're a mom, whether you're a dad, whether you're a student, no matter what you are, you will be playing life at the moment somewhere between 1 and 10, and 90% of people are playing between 1 and 3. So I want you to start getting your energy level up, okay? When it starts getting up to 8, 9 and 10, you start making massive change in your life. But understand that around the place of 7, 8, 9 and 10, that's where life becomes really uncomfortable, where you start doing things you've never done before. But understand that you need to be able to live outside of your comfort zone for you to be able to do the things you've always wanted to do. So let's get well out of your comfort zone. So where are we going to go with it? So first thing is, I remember that I was flying to Africa recently, and as I got on the plane, I sat there, and normally I'm on my phone or on my laptop, kind of busy doing things. But this time what I said is, let me actually listen to what the air hostess, the air steward at the front was saying. And obviously they started talking about the doors, and they started talking about what happens if anything happens, where the lights are going to be, what time the meals are going to be, and if we need them to press the orange button. But they said something which really kind of hit me hard. I've heard it all the time, but this time it really kind of hit me hard. They said that if there's any loss in cabin pressure, what they want us to do is, they want, when the mask from the ceiling falls down, they wanted me to put my mask on first and then help the person next to me. And I'm thinking, hold on, maybe you've got it wrong, right? Because we always help others before we help ourselves. So if I put the mask on myself, I won't be helping myself first. I'll be helping myself first. I won't be helping someone else first. And we've always been taught to help others first. And as I thought about it more, I realized, hold on, that there's a lot of truth in this. That if I haven't got my mask on, how am I able to help someone else put their mask on? If I'm going to be struggling for oxygen, if I'm going to be kind of fumbling around trying to get my own mask on, how can I help someone else get their mask on? So the truth is that it's only when I have it myself can I really help someone else properly. So even if it's my child or my spouse or my parent or a friend, it's only when I've got my mask on, when I've got the energy I have, when I've got it myself, then I can go ahead and I can give the mask to them. I can help them put their mask on. So that kind of meant a lot to me, because I said, you know what? Sometimes in life we say yes to things just to avoid disappointing others. Sometimes we go to schools or we take up jobs we hate. Why? Just sometimes to be able to please our parents. That sometimes, a lot of what we do in life is around just pleasing others, and we never put our own mask on first. We're always putting someone else's mask on. So what about if we started to say no to that useless meeting, so maybe we can go for a run? What if we change our career so that we can do something we really enjoy? Maybe we use that money we've saved and take that break because we know we really need it. Because what's that money being kept aside for? That, sometimes the way this plays out, that say for example you've taken a career to be able to please your parents. Initially they'll be pleased, but later on you're going to be upset. And when you're going to be upset with them. So maybe initially we have those conversations, we put our mask on first and say, I really don't want to do this. That maybe we do need to upset a few people around us first, because in the long run, in the macro game, we'll be pleasing them because we'll be happy. So what you really need to do is you need to, and again, when in this whole audio program, I'm going to say you, I'm going to say me, but understand that when I point at you, and just do that now, just point at someone, point in the room. When you point, there's one finger pointing out, but there's always three fingers pointing back. So remember that whenever you point to anything, you're always pointing at yourself 3 times over. So understand that whenever I say these to you, I'm the first one to be taking this on, and I'm always talking to myself about this as well. So I'm pointing at you, I'm saying you, but I'm also talking about me as well. So you need to find out what gives you energy first, and when that gives you the energy, when you have the energy, then you can spread that joy and that energy to everyone else. So let's get our oxygen masks on first. Next time you're traveling, just listen to what the person at the front is saying. And sometimes we don't take this on, but understand how important it is that you have your own mask on first. So let me tell you a little bit about me. So I'm a dental surgeon by profession. Okay, so I'm a dentist by profession, and in January 2016, my life took a very big turn. So I was leaving one of my clinics, and as I was leaving, there was a lady called Lucy who called me, and Lucy was from the NHS Trust, and Lucy said to me, Mahmood, I've got some news for you, but I want to make sure that you're sitting down because this is pretty important, and I just want to make sure you're not driving. And Lucy's normally she's a very funny character. She's always laughing. So I didn't know whether she was having a bit of a laugh, but I said, no, I'm here and I'm listening, and just tell me whatever you want, and I'm not driving. She said, look, Mahmood, we're having cuts in the area, and we've had to put all of the names of the local clinics inside a hat, and we've pulled out your name. And I'm like, wow, normally when your name's pulled out of a hat, it's a good thing. And she said, no, Mahmood, what that means is we've got to kind of cut the funding to your clinic. And what that meant for me is that my business closed overnight. A business I'd built up for 7 years, which was worth over £600,000. I lost that business overnight. And, when's the last time one day changed your life? See, my kids were really young at that point, and I didn't know what I was going to do. I came home and I didn't know how to tell everyone. I didn't know what I was going to do, because obviously I relied on this business for most of my income. So as the days went on, I kind of went down a slippery slope. I wasn't depressed, but I wasn't okay. I was kind of in the middle, if you kind of know what I mean. And things kind of started getting worse. And whenever things for me got really bad in my life, there was always one person who I'd go and speak to, and that's my father. And you know how dads are, right? Dads always have the right thing to say at the right time. So I went to speak to my dad, and I explained to my dad what was happening. And my dad said to me, look, Mahmood, let me give you three very, very, very important bits of information. I said, okay, fine, Dad, what are these three? Dad said, number one, Mahmood, never, ever, ever, ever give up on your goals. Never give up on your goals, or never give up on your dreams. Said, number two, never stop serving people. That the more people that you will help in your life, more doors will open for you. That if you help enough people get what they want, then you'll be able to get anything which you want in life. So number two, never stop serving people. And Dad said, number three, that the dots will connect down the line. That you will understand why this is happening to you right now, but you won't understand it now, but you'll understand it later on. That how many of you out there right now are having really big problems in your life? Most of us, right? We're all having problems. And when you compare these problems to the problems you maybe had 10 years ago, the problems you had 10 years ago weren't big, they weren't massive problems, but the problems right now, they're massive. But you know why that is? It's because you've grown as a person. So the way in life that we grow is by having bigger and bigger and bigger problems. I'd understand, right? That problems are here to grow us. That it's only when we go through problems can we actually grow to the next chapter of your life. They say that at every level there's another devil, that at every level there's another problem there. And only when you get through that problem will you be able to get to that next stage of your life. That maybe sometimes in your life right now you're having the same problem over and over and over again, and the reason why is because you haven't learned the lesson from that problem. Think about a lobster. What's a lobster, right? A lobster is a thin, mushy animal with a very, very, very thick, hard outer shell. And whenever a lobster wants to grow, it can't, because the outer shell is limiting its growth. So when a lobster wants to grow, what happens is it has to shed its shell, and it goes through so much pain when it sheds its shell. And then it grows, and then a new shell forms over it. So the only way the lobster grows is through pain. But imagine if lobsters had doctors, what would happen, right? That the lobster would go to the lobster doctor, and the lobster doctor would possibly give it a Valium, and then the lobster wouldn't want to grow anymore, so it wouldn't feel any pain. So because it doesn't want to feel any pain, it won't grow, and the lobster would never grow. Right? And our lives are sometimes like that as well. That when we feel that pain, we stay away from that problem, not to avoid it, but the truth is that's the problem which is actually going to grow us. And if we don't get through that problem, we'll never ever grow to that next chapter of our life. So that's those three things to me. Number one, never give up on your goals. Number two, never stop serving people. And number three, that the dots will connect down the line. You see, I didn't know what to make of this at that point because I was so emotional. I was highly charged because I didn't know what to do. And so I left my dad's place on that day. And as I left, my dad gave me a book. And that book was called Habits 101. You may want to read that book. It's a book which changed my life, and I'm sure it'll change your life. And I went home that day, and when I read that book, Habits 101, I realized that every successful person out there has a daily habit. A habit which they do early in the morning, and it's normally related to their health. So I said, you know what? I haven't got anything to lose. I'm going to do this. I'm going to start up a daily habit from tomorrow, and I'm going to do it every day, because if it can work for these guys, because what does Tony Robbins say, right? Tony Robbins says, if you want to be successful, find someone who's done it already and copy them, model them, do exactly what they've done. So I said, you know what? If other people have done this, then if I do that, then I'm going to be able to get to that same place as well. So I said, okay, fine. Do you know what? So I used to run. Many of you runners out there, I don't know, but I used to run, but I never used to run every day. So I said, from tomorrow morning, I'm going to start running every single day. But not just every single day, but early in the morning, before my wife's up, before the kids are up, before my phone starts going off. I'm going to be out there, and I'm just going to be running every single morning, because if it worked for these guys, it'll work for me, right? That's it. And I had nothing to lose at that point. I lost everything. So I said, okay, fine. I'm going to do this. So guess what? The next morning came, between 5 and 6 a.m. I'm out there running, and guess how it feels? No, it didn't feel good. It felt horrible. It felt totally horrible. Guess how it felt a few days later? Again, it felt horrible. It felt really bad. But as time went on, what I realized is that it kind of gave me some me time. That was my time in the morning when I could actually focus on me. It gave me some me time. And as time went on, I maybe hadn't found a reason as to why this happened, but I kind of found a way to cope with the problems in my life. That it was like, if I run, it allows me to go in a certain type of zone that I can cope with any problem now. So do you know what I said to the world? I said, world, throw me any problem you want to give me, and I can handle it. Why? Because I found my coping mechanism in life. And guess what happens when you throw something out there in the world? Tell me what happens when you throw something out there in the world and you say, world, throw me a problem and I can handle it. Guess what the world does? Yeah, the world replies, right? So the world replied to me in a really big way. I remember it was the 10th of May, 2016. It was a Tuesday. It was a cold Tuesday afternoon, and my mum phoned me. You see, my mum normally doesn't phone me because she knows I'm at the clinic, but this time she called me. And she said, Mahmood, Dad's been taken to hospital. So I'm like, wow, what do I do? And, I knew it couldn't be that bad because my dad was a speaker. But since January, Dad wasn't able to speak because he had a cough which wouldn't go away. And just a month ago, I was at the consultants with my dad, and the consultant said, look, we don't know why this cough is there, but come back in July. We're going to run some tests, but everything should be okay. So I'm like, okay, cool, we'll come back. We will come back in July. So it's May now. And so I rushed to the hospital, and my dad's lying there on a hospital bed with an oxygen mask on him. But he looked well, so I knew it couldn't be that bad. So that's cool. I'm with my dad. My dad can't speak much because obviously he had the oxygen mask on him. And the evening comes, and at that point it's just me and my dad in the room. And my mum and my sister had gone home to get my dad's clothes. So it's just me and my dad in the room. And the consultant walks in. And I remember this consultant clearly. Why? Because a guy looked like he was 194 years old. He looked like flipping Yoda, right? So the consultant walks in and he goes to me, Mahmood, what's the pathway? And I'm like, what do you mean? And he said, Mahmood, and he started speaking loud. He said, Mahmood, what is the pathway? What would you like us to do? And at this point, I didn't know what to say. And he pointed and he said, Mahmood, come outside. And so I walked outside. And you see, the distance from the door to where I wasn't long, but it seemed like a walk forever. And I got outside, and the consultant said to me, look, Mahmood, I don't know how to tell you this, but something's changed, and we don't know why it's changed, but your dad's a very sick man. And he goes, do you know there comes a time in your life when you've got to call your near ones, your dear ones, your loved ones? He goes, this is a time that I don't think your dad's got very long left. And I'm like, wow, and I'm like shocked, and I'm thinking, oh my God, what the hell do I do right now? Have you ever had that experience where you kind of feel like you come out of your body and you're looking at yourself? So that's how I felt, that I'm looking at that I'm looking at myself, and I didn't know what to do. And I called my sister, I called my sisters, I called my mom, I called my wife into the room, and I said, look, we could be losing now the rock of our life. And I went home that day, and the only way I knew how to cope was through my running. So I got my trainers on that night, and I ran and I ran and I ran and I ran. That's all I knew how to do. And over the next few days, what the running allowed me to do is the running allowed me to concentrate on my dad's life rather than on mine. And I remember it was the Sunday, it was the 15th of May 2016. Have you ever woken up in the morning and you just know that something doesn't feel right, but you just don't know what it is? So I woke up that morning, I went for a run, and I rushed to the hospital. It wasn't even visiting hours yet, but the nurse said to me, Mahmood, I'm happy you've come in because your dad hasn't had a good night, so come and see your dad. So I walked in and I looked at my dad, and my dad had a CPAP mask on him. So if you don't know what a CPAP mask is, just kind of Google it, but it's a mask which blows really, really fast oxygen on you, so it's impossible for you to speak. So my dad said to me, he made a gesture, he said, Mahmood, bring me a piece of paper and a pen. So I brought my dad a piece of paper and a pen. And then what my dad wrote on this paper is with me right now, but it was something which changed my life forever. My dad writes on there, Mahmood, it's my time to go. It's my time to go and meet my Lord. I said, no way, Dad. I said, there is so much that we've got to speak about. There's so much unfinished business we have. And Dad said, no. Dad said, I'm out of here. And Dad said, I give you today till 4 o'clock. And he goes, at 4 o'clock, I'm out of here. You see, how many times in your life do you put things off until tomorrow, until tomorrow, until tomorrow? But what if that tomorrow never comes? And for me, that tomorrow never came. And my dad said that until 4 o'clock I give you, bring anyone you want here, and then I'm out of here. My dad died that day at 6, 2 hours after he said he'd die. And when my dad died, each and every member of my family was holding my dad's hand while he passed from this world towards the next. And as the days went on, and when I reflected on my dad's life, I realized some very, 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 very important things. That number one, that my dad, he led a life of no regrets. See, on that day, my dad was happy to go, but at that point in my life, I was full of regret. I was in a career as a dentist, which I didn't like at all. I loved it early on. For the first 7 years, I loved it. But the last few years, I really, really, really didn't like it. I kind of hated it. And I was in there, and I knew that if I don't do something right now, there's going to be a time in my life when I'm going to regret so much. But at that point, my dad didn't have any regrets. He lived a life on his terms. He did everything he wanted to do. And I said, that's the day when I need to change, when I need to become more, do more, give more, if I'm going to go out there and I'm going to serve more. But I had that little voice in my head saying, Mahmood, you're not good enough. All the things you wanted to do, I wanted to speak, I wanted to be able to inspire, I wanted to be able to help, I wanted to run courses, I wanted to make audio programs like this, I wanted to be able to do so much. But I had that little voice in my head saying, Mahmood, you're not good enough. Mahmood, why you? There's better people out there than you, that people are going to laugh at you. And maybe you've had that voice inside your head. And I said, on that day, I'm going to get rid of that voice. I'm going to overpower that voice, and I'm going to go and do the things which I want to do. And do you know the other thing? My dad was right, that the dots did connect. That if I didn't lose my business, I wouldn't have found the coping mechanism to deal with my father's death. But the dots connected further. That if my father didn't die, I don't think I'd be here making this program, talking to you right now. And the thing is, why am I telling you this? Why am I sharing this out there? Why am I putting out there to hundreds and thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of people right now who are listening to this? Why am I sharing this with you? It's because I don't want you to have any regrets. No regrets. I want you to have a life of no regrets. And do you know what the biggest regret in life is? What is the biggest regret in life? Take a moment, have a think. What's the biggest regret? No one on their deathbed said, I wish I'd worked more, I wish I'd earned more money. Yeah, do you know what the biggest regret in life is? I wish I'd led a life on my terms, a life true to me, a life not governed by the expectation of others. And each and every one of us, to some extent, we're governed by the expectation of someone else. Maybe it's our spouse, or maybe it's our parents, maybe it's our kids, maybe it's our friends. But the one thing I can promise you is there's going to come a day when you're not going to care about what anyone thinks about you, but then it's going to be too late. And why am I telling you this? Because I don't want you to be governed by anyone's expectation. I don't want you to be governed by anyone else's expectation of you. I want you to be able to go out there and do the things you always wanted to do. You know, there's a great philosopher called Cooley, and what Cooley said is, he said, I am not what I think I am. I am not what you think I am. I am what I think you think I am. Think about that, man. It blows your mind. I am not what I think I am. I am not what you think I am. I am what I think you think I am. That we live within a box, within a box, within a box, a perception in a perception in a perception, a bubble within a bubble within a bubble. That we don't lead our lives not what we think about us. We don't even lead our lives on what we think other people, on what other people think about us. We live our life on what we think other people think about us. What a crazy, crazy way to live. And I want to make sure that from today you have no regrets in life, that you don't live life based on anyone's expectation of you. You live life on your terms, only on what you want to do. So I said that day that I want to go out there and I want to do the things I want to do, that how is it that I can go out there and I can impact the world? I wanted to help people, but I didn't know how I was going to do it. So do you know what I did? I looked at what I was good at. See, so in life, you've got your strengths and you've got your weaknesses. In life, most people concentrate on their weaknesses to get their weaknesses better. What I tell you is concentrate on your strengths. Find out what your strengths are and go all in on them. Just go all in on your strengths. Just concentrate on your strengths. Because if you focus in life on what you're bad at, you'll become okay. If you focus on what you're okay at, you'll become good. But what if you focus on what you're good at, you flip and become phenomenal. And that's how you transform the world. That we need more phenomenal people out there. That even some of the biggest leaders, the thought leaders like Warren Buffett and Elon Musk were asked, how would you divide up your hours in a day? How do you divide up 100 hours if we gave that to you on what you're bad at, what you're okay at, what you're good at? Do you know what they said? All of the uber successful people said would concentrate on what we're good at, would focus in, would go all in on our strengths, not on our weaknesses at all. I want you to do that. Make a list right now. Pause. Make a list of your strengths, of your weaknesses, and decide, what are you doing? Are you spending more time in your life focusing on your weaknesses? Are you focusing on your strengths? Go all in on your strengths. Don't worry about your weaknesses. Your weaknesses aren't there. Yeah, there's someone else who can do the things which you're bad at. You just focus on what you're great at and what you're good at. Become great, become even better. So I said, how is it that I can add more value to the world? What is it that I can do? So one thing which I was very passionate about, which I knew I'd conquered, was my health. I knew I was in good physical shape. And I knew because of my running, it allowed me to focus on my physical, but it allowed me to power up, to rule my mental. Okay, so by running, it actually focused my mental state, not just my physical state. So I said, do you know what? If this works for me and if this changed my life, let me go out there and teach other people how to do this. So what I did is I looked around me and I looked at my Asian community. And you know what? The Asian community, they're not gifted with the gift of health. So I said, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go out there now and I'm going to give them the gift of health. So what I'm going to do is, I said I'm going to start up a fitness class. I'm going to start up a fitness class once a week on a Sunday. And I said, let me put an advert out there. So come and join me once a week on a Sunday for 6 weeks, no charge, and let me get you fit. This was for my Asian community. And when I put it out there, you know what people said? I think people are quite negative by nature. They said, Mahmood, you're not going to get 15 Asians coming to you, probably get 5. They're not really interested in health. And I said, do you know what? I don't even care if I don't get 5. Okay, I just want 1. Why? Yeah, I knew I couldn't change the world through one person, but I knew I could change the world for one person. And as long as I could change the world for one person and I could leave this earth impacting one person, then that was enough for me. Okay, so I put the advert out there, and guess what? I got 15 people straight away signing up. So we started, and we were only meant to go on for 6 weeks. But you know what? We haven't only gone on for 6 weeks. So what I used to do is, when they used to come in, I used to, for the first 10 minutes, I used to give them a pump talk, a talk which used to motivate them, inspire them, get them, yeah, we're going to do this, okay? And then I used to record that. I used to put it on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And you know what? People around the world started watching that. Our classes haven't just gone on for 6 weeks. They've gone on now for 3 years. Rather than having 15 people through our doors, we've had thousands of people coming through our doors. And not just that, not just have we launched in the UK, but we've launched in the US, we've launched in Africa, and this year we're launching in the Far East, we've launched in Europe. And why? Because this only happened because I got out of my own way. That I got out of my own way, that what's standing between you and the life of your dreams is you, that you're in your own way right now, that I believed more in me than anyone else believed in me. And that's how this whole journey started. That when I put these on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, that people started watching them, that they started calling me on their stages around the world to speak. And I started traveling to places. I started traveling to Africa, to the US, to Europe to be able to speak. A little while ago, I got invited to give a talk in Davos. And we had, Davos is the place, and we were in the same hotel where the World Economic Forum's held. We had a net worth of 15 billion be in that room. Okay, and I gave a talk of how health and wellness relates to business, relates to how to grow your physical business by conquering your physical self and your mental self. And you know, right now, once a month I'm in Africa, once a month I'm in the US. Well, you know, what I do now is I've got my own coaching firm where I teach entrepreneurs how to sell, how to speak, how to power speak, how to close, how to command levels of money which they never thought about before. Why? Because I kind of got out of my own way. And it was amazing, and I'm living a life right now which I never thought I would, but it only came from me believing more in me than anyone else believed in me. And I want you to look at yourself right now and think about what is it that you want to do, and are you doing it right now? And if you're not, I want you to ask yourself why. You know, in life, whatever you want to achieve, there's kind of two ways of looking at things. There's eyesight and there's mindsight. That most people live life by eyesight, but I want you to know that you need to be able to live life by mindsight. See, eyesight is when you need to see something before you believe it, but mindsight is the ability to believe something before you see it, okay? Where you need to believe something for it to manifest in your life, okay? So if there's anything in life that you want, you need to be able to believe it, and then it manifests in your life. I want you to look at this, right? I want you to draw something. So grab a pen, pause wherever you are. Grab a pen right now. Okay, so just go grab a pen, get a piece of paper. Brilliant. Okay, so I hope you've got a piece of paper and a pen. What I want you to do right now is I want you to draw something out. So imagine there's a clock, and on that clock at 11 o'clock, I want you to put a P. At 2 o'clock, I want you to put an A. At 4 o'clock, I want you to put an R. And at 7 o'clock, I want you to put a B. Okay? So the P at 11 is for potential. The A at 2 o'clock is for action. The R at 4 o'clock is for results. And the B at 7 o'clock is for belief. So from the top, going in a clockwise direction, and then you can put arrows. So P leads to A leads to R leads to B. So it's potential, action, results, and belief. So this is the belief cycle, and what I want to show you is over here that imagine if, let's kind of look at your business, or let's look at your earnings right now. That say there's two people, say there's one person earning £2,000 a month, and there's one person earning £10,000 a month. Do you agree with me that the person earning £10,000 a month is doing something different from the person who's earning £2,000 a month? 100%, right? 100%. The person who's earning £10,000 is definitely doing something a lot different to the person earning £2,000 a month, because otherwise, if the £2,000 a month was doing that, then he would be at £10,000 a month. So how is it that you can get from that £2,000 to £10,000? So let's look at this. So let's look at P for potential. Do you agree with me that human potential is unlimited? Absolutely, right? That we're all born average, but we've got an unlimited amount of potential. If Jeff Bezos, who owns Amazon, can make like $2 million every second, why is it that we can't? We can, right? We can. And he's just tapped into more of his potential than we have. Okay? More of his potential than you have. That's it. Okay? So human potential is unlimited. But tell me, do most people's results in life show that? They don't, right? Most people don't have the life of their dreams. They don't have everything they wanted to. They don't, right? So let's look at. So if you feel that your potential is £2,000 a month, let's move on to action. What kind of action are you going to take in life? You're going to take the action like a £2,000 a month person does. When you take £2,000 a month of action, guess what results you get? You get £2,000 a month worth of results. And if you start getting £2,000 a month worth of results, what happens to your belief? You say, look, yeah, I'm a £2,000 a month person. So imagine if you changed it. Imagine if you're a £2,000 a month person, but imagine if you started now living life with mindsight. So remember, where you believe something with everything you have for it to manifest, for you to see it in your life. So imagine if you started believing that you're a £10,000 a month person. Imagine if you started living life like you're a £10,000 a month person. I don't mean spend like a £10,000 a month person. I mean, how would you feel every morning if you were earning £10,000 a month? How would you breathe? How would you walk? How would you smile? Imagine if you woke up every single morning believing you're a £10,000 a month person. If you believe you're a £10,000 a month person, what's going to happen to your potential? You're going to tap into more of your potential. You're going to tap into £10,000 a month worth of your potential. When you tap into £10,000 a month worth of your potential, guess what type of action you take? You take £10,000 a month worth of action, which means you'll start doing bigger things. You'll start living life more uncomfortably. You'll maybe have a mentor. You'll have a coach. You'll learn more. You'll read more. You'll wake up earlier in the morning. You'll start having a better, healthier lifestyle. You'll take massive action, right? And imagine if you start taking £10,000 a month worth of action, what kind of results will you start getting into your life? £10,000 a month worth of results, right? Then what happens to your belief? You think, yeah, flipping I can do this, right? And this cycle, it feeds itself. It goes round and round and round. But understand, the only place where you can attack this, is in your beliefs. You can't attack it on action, on results, on potential. You can only attack it on beliefs. So if there's anything in life that you want to do, the only reason right now, the reason you don't have it is because you're waiting to see it before you feel it. I want you to feel it before you see it. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Make the moment perfect. Get the moment. Make every moment count. No one's coming back. You only live once. No one's coming back, right? We all live as if we're coming back. Believe you are wherever you want to be. Live life like that. Breathe life like that. See it, smell it, touch it, do it. When you believe you're there, then you will actually get there. Before 1954, no one had run a mile in less than 4 minutes. And what the doctors and the cardiologists and the specialists out there said, it was impossible. It was impossible to run a mile in less than 4 minutes. So because the world said it was impossible, no one had ever done it. One man called Roger Bannister, who actually died last year, great guy, absolutely amazing guy. What Roger Bannister said is he believed he could do it. And he ran this race in his mind, so he used mindsight rather than eyesight. So he believed going out there on the track, and he believed smashing the 4-minute mile, but nothing happening to him. So his heart would be okay. So he'd actually be super healthy, and he wouldn't die while trying to do this. And because he did it with mindsight, guess what happened? He went out there and he ran this mile in less than 4 minutes. And the world was like, wow, no one's ever done this before. He's achieved the impossible. No one from the history of time has ever ran a mile in less than 4 minutes. But Roger Bannister did. He made the impossible possible. And guess what? Just 1 month after, a guy called John Landy ran the mile in less than 4 minutes. He actually beat Roger Bannister's time. And you're like, hold on. Since the birth of the world, no one's run the mile in less than 4 minutes. Now all of a sudden 2 people can. And after John Landy did, then other people started doing it. And every year thousands of people do it now. School kids run the mile in less than 4 minutes. You can run a mile in less than 4 minutes if you train yourself. But what happened? Have we got any healthier? No, hell no. If anything, we've become maybe unhealthier as time's gone on. But why? It's because of belief, right? It's because of belief that all of a sudden the impossible became possible. That people now, because they thought it was possible, they went out there and they did it. And look at the people in your life right now. Who has told you that something's impossible? That people only call it impossible because it's impossible for them, but they make it so it's impossible for you. So they tell you it's not possible and you don't do it. Why? Because you think it's impossible. But it's impossible for them. People put their own limits on you because they don't want you to grow. Question is, what's your 4-minute mile right now? What's your 4-minute mile in your life? Is it the amount of money you have? Is it the business you have? Is it the relationship you have? What's your 4-minute mile? And do you know what my 4-minute mile was? My 4-minute mile was, well, let me kind of tell you properly. So when I was 13 years old, every 2 weeks there used to be a knock on the door in school like this. There used to be a knock, and it used to be called a lady called Mrs. Edwards. And Miss Edwards used to come in and go, Mahmood, let's go. It's time for your speech therapy lesson. Yeah. You see, when I was younger, I had a stutter. And do you know what a stutter is, right? Where you can't speak, where the words just don't come out. And everyone used to laugh at me. When you're younger, all you want to do is blend in. When you're older, you want to stand out, right? But when you're younger, you all just want to be able to blend in. And I had a stutter. She used to call me out. Miss Edwards used to call me out every 2 weeks for my speech therapy lessons. But the thing is, she wasn't just my speech therapy teacher, she was actually my English teacher. And Miss Edwards didn't like me. She didn't like me at all. And when we used to have our English lessons, when someone needed to read, she used to pick on me to read, even though she knew that I couldn't read. Well, I could read, but the words wouldn't come out. See, when I was around my friends, my stutter never used to come on. But when I was around people I didn't know, when I was in crowds, then my stutter came on. And people used to laugh. And I remember this day when I got into class and Mrs. Edwards was my teacher. I got on the chair and I tried to dive under the desk. I tried to go down and down and down on the chair so she wouldn't see me. But she saw me. And do you know what she said? She said, Mahmood, page 23, Shakespeare, paragraph 2, start reading. And I'm like, oh my God, seriously? Seriously? She goes, Mahmood, start reading. And I started reading, but the words wouldn't come out. I was like, And there's little giggles in the class. Everyone starts laughing. There's little laughs in the room. And I couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't take it. Everyone's laughing. I ran out the class. I ran home. I locked my door and I started crying. And I said, do you know what? There has to be a way out of this. That I knew that I got to find a way out of this. That if I grow up with my stutter, then it means I've come to the world with my hand out. And I never wanted to come to the world with my hand out. But the doctor said to me that even now, if you type it in on Google, how do you get rid of a stutter? You can't. It's impossible. That if you've had a stutter for more than 2 years, there is no way that you can get rid of it. And I had mine for my life. So the doctor said, Mahmood, there is never going to be a way where you can get rid of it. So I said, I have to. I can't go on life like this. And I made a decision that day. Do you know this belief cycle I told you? I didn't know about it, right? I was 14. But I made a belief that day that my belief was that I've got rid of it. I'm going to find every way in my life right now to find a way to get rid of it. So I walked the next morning and I marched into Mrs. Edwards' room and I said, Miss Edwards, I don't need you anymore. She said, Mahmood, what do you mean? I said, I don't need you anymore. I said, I'm going to find a way to get over my stutter. If anything, I've got over it already. I don't need you. Do you know what Miss Edwards did? She wasn't a very nice lady. She laughed. Not smiled, she laughed at me. And she walked to the board and she got her chalk. And do you remember, have you heard the noise the chalk makes on the board? And she wrote the word impossible on the board. And I looked at that. And when I looked at the word impossible, for some reason that day, I read it differently. I read it as I'm possible. So write the word impossible down and it's made up of I'm possible. That I saw there that she didn't write impossible, that she wrote that I'm possible. And I decided on that day that that's it. I'm going to go out. I'm going to make this happen. And do you know what I did? that I found every single way I can to be able to get over my stutter. And what I do now is, do you know what? So now I teach other people how to speak. I teach entrepreneurs how to power speak. You know, I've spoken on the stage around the world. I've spoken in front of thousands and thousands of people on stage that I've actually closed. I've raised over £2 million, well over £2 million in the last 10 months. And the question is how and why. And the question is, do you know what? That from my greatest pain, which was my stutter, came my greatest gift, was being able to help the world to be able to speak. So from my greatest pain came my greatest gift. And why? It's because I believed more than anyone, that I believed, and because I believed it, I saw I had the potential to do it. Because I knew I had the potential, I started taking massive action in my life. Because I took massive action, I got massive results, and the results were that, well, you know what, this stutter's going away. And because of that, my belief that, yeah, Mahmood, you can do this. And now, as I said, I stand before you, and what I do is I teach entrepreneurs how to power speak. I have courses where I bring people on and I teach them how to power speak. That what's taken me years and years, that I knock out stutters, that I knock out confidence issues, that I make sure that people have a life on their terms. Why I give them the gift to be able to power speak in front of crowds, in front of rooms, to be able to stand up without any problem and speak out and speak well and speak with clarity, passion and power. And that came from my greatest gift. So understand that whatever you're going through in your life right now, imagine whatever you're going through in your life right now, that whatever pain you're going through, understand that this is there to grow you, that your pain becomes your greatest gift. And you need to use your pain, and there are people out there in the world who need you, that you need to be able to help them, that they need help from you and what you've been able to go through. So what is it that you've done? What have you conquered? And now what you need to do is be able to go out there and give this gift to the world, that understand that from your greatest pain comes your greatest gift. So then one of the first things over here which we need to start thinking about is if we want to start thinking in a different way, then we've got to start thinking about how we're going to do that. So let me give you an example. Do you remember, are any of you wise enough out there to remember Windows 95? I won't say old, right? I'll say wise. Are any of you wise enough to remember Windows 95? A lot of you remember, right? So what if I told you that, can you install Office 2016 onto Windows 95? What would happen? And you'd say, look, Mahmood, it's not going to work. Why? Because it'll crash, it'll burn, it'll just won't work. And you know, sometimes our minds are like that we're running an old operating system, and then someone like me comes along and I say, you know, you can have the life you want, you can have everything you want, but you just got to start thinking in a different way, that you can earn more, become more, do more, have better relationships, have more money, you know, have that dream career you want, be able to quit your job right now and have the actual career and the job you want. And do you know what? Because sometimes you've got an old operating system in there, even though you say yes, it's possible, you don't really believe it. So during this audio program, what I need you to do is I need you to allow me to install my software up there, and because I know that if I install my software, then when you listen to what I tell you, it's going to work. 100% it's going to work. So do I have, so like wherever you are, just kind of shout out a big yes. Remember, let's get the energy up. Do I have a big yes from you that you'll allow me to install my operating system in your mind? Everyone say loud yes. Fantastic. Okay, brilliant. Okay, so now let's go. Fine. So one of the first things which I want you to do is I want you to be able to set some goals. Okay, a lot of people say goal setting doesn't work. The reason it doesn't work for them is because they don't set them right. So I want you to be able to set some massive, huge goals, because the thing is, what goals are is, imagine if you didn't have any goals in life, okay, and then you're just going around trying to do things. You'll never get there, right? It's like a ship without a captain. Do you remember, have you seen Alice in Wonderland, where the two roads open out? And Alice asks, well, what road do I go down? And the answer is, well, any road will get you to somewhere where you don't know where you're going. If you don't know where you're going, any road's going to get you there. So you need to be like a laser guided missile. You need to know exactly what is it that you want. Now, there are a few rules for goal setting before I ask you to set some goals. So the first thing is that when you set a goal, I want you to set a goal from the person you are becoming, not from the person you are. So from the person you want to be, not from the person you are. Because the person you want to be sets much bigger goals than the person you are right now. So rule number one, set goals from the person you will become, not from the person you are right now, because that person who you're going to become sets much bigger goal. Okay, does that make sense? Oh, brilliant. Okay, second thing, when we're goal setting, I want you to set some short-term goals. What I mean by short-term is I mean 6 to 9 months goals. A lot of us, we set 5-year goals, and when you set 5-year goals, do you know what happens for the first 4 years? Have a guess. Yeah, you don't do anything. So the key to set goals is to have a short-term goal. So you've got 6 or 9 months focused, okay? The next thing is that I want you to not worry about the how. So normally, say you set a goal, say financially, for example, you're making £1,000 a month now, and you set a goal where in the next 6 months I want to make £5,000 a month. Your mind says, you've never done that before. No one in your family's done it. You're not going to do it. So straight away, the mind will try to try and douse that flame. Why? Because it doesn't want you to grow. Okay, so I don't want you to think about the how. When you commit, once you go all in, once you say I'm going to do it, and you put everything in there, the world opens out. You'll find your how. You don't have to worry about the how. Think about this. Imagine that you're sitting in a car. Say, well, I'm sitting in London right now, and say I want to drive to Birmingham, and say it's night time. So what I do is I sit in my car and I turn my lights on to go from London to Birmingham, but all I can see is the first 10 meters ahead of me. So then what happens is I drive 10 meters, and what happens? Yeah, I see the next 10 meters, and then I see the next 10 meters after that. And slowly I get to Birmingham, right? If from when I sat in the car, I try to visualize all the roads and any traffic jams and any hurdles and any blockages and any accidents on the way, I won't even begin, because I'll be so overwhelmed I won't even start. So the key to goal setting is that you know where your goal is, but you don't worry about the how. Okay? So that brings me to my next thing. That your goal needs to be specific, because when the mind is focused on something specific, it doesn't matter on the journey, it will get you there. Let me give you an example. Look at the room around you, okay? Look around. If I told you in your room, I want you to walk in a straight line from where you are right now to where the door is, okay? I want you to walk in that straight line. So you know where the goal is, that's the door, you know where you are right now, and you know I want you to go in a straight line, so no bends, just totally straight. So you start walking, and all of a sudden, do you know what I do? I chuck a chair in front of you. And what do? You bypass the chair, and then you get to your goal. Fine, okay? Because the mind knew where it needed to go, so it went through any obstacle, but it still went to the destination it was meant to go to. So let's change this now. Let me say that I told you, so let's not pick a clear goal. So I told you, look, pick any place in your room, and I want you to walk to a straight line to that place. So then you start walking, and all of a sudden I throw the same chair in front of you. Do you know what happens? Number one, you stop, and either you'll stop, and then what you'll do is, if you continue, because the chair's in your way, you'll go to another destination in that room, because the destination isn't fixed. So what happens is you ended up at a different destination. Why? Even though the same hurdle came to you. But when you had a fixed destination, the mind took you to it. So what I want you to understand, that the journey doesn't matter, the hurdles don't matter, the route doesn't matter. You will still get to the same goal. Okay, you will still get to the same goal, because that's what the mind looked at. So number one, the most important thing is to have a fixed goal, the fixed endpoint, but then understand internally that even when you get to the goal isn't going to make you happy. Goals don't make you happy. It's the journey which makes you happy. The happiness comes from the person you become, because from getting to where you are now, so say for example you're earning £1,000 right now, you're going to get to £5,000. Say you're in a relationship which you don't like and you want to make it amazing. That journey in between is what's going to make you happy. It's what's going to grow you. So the end goal is so important, but the root doesn't matter. But the root is what's going to grow you. The root is the part which is going to make you happy. The end goal isn't going to bring the happiness. Okay. So there are 5 main areas of your life, 5 main areas. And again, I want you to grab a paper and a pen, pause right now if you have to. 5 main areas of your life. And these are the main areas where I want you to be able to set some short goals. And what I would say is set 3 goals in each of these areas. And when you set these goals need to be something which when you hit, they're going to change your life. They really inspire you. Don't set a short-term goal. So again, if we're just talking about money, say you're on £1,000 right now and you want to get to, and you'd love to get to 10,000. If you set like a £2,000 goal, when you get there, it's not going to inspire you. I want you to create something, an amazing goal, something where when you hit it, it's going to be wow, it's going to change your life. So the 5 main areas are: number 1, your physical self. So your body, okay, your health. You know, your health is the most important journey you'll have in life, right? You've only got one body. It's the only place you have to live. You need to make sure that you're vibrant, you're passionate, you've got energy, that you're running, you're exercising, you're in the gym, all those things. So I want to make sure that your physical health is amazing, because you know what? A lot of the people I've met in life, later on in life, they got a lot of money, but they don't have the health. Early on in life, they sacrificed their health to get the money, and now they'll sacrifice any amount of money to get their health back, but it doesn't happen that way. So make sure that you've got your physical self sorted out, okay? So 3 goals, write down 3, remember, short-term, very, very precise goals, which will change your life for your physical self. Once you've done that, I want you to then change over and then write 3 goals for your business, so for your money. So anything business related. Again, short-term goal, 6 to 9 months will make them super powerful. When you get there, it's going to change your life. That journey is going to make you an amazing person. But when you get to that goal, life's going to be totally different for you, because if you're a £2,000 a month person now, if you get to £10,000 a month person, you know that £10,000 a month will change your life totally. It'll bring you back in. And the thing is, let me kind of take a bit of a pause right now. Let me talk about money. That I really feel that money is super important. Why? Because sometimes in our culture that we're told not to have too much money, but you know what money does? Money buys you choices. Money allows you to change other people's lives, not just your life. So there's a certain amount of money you need, a certain amount of money you want, but beyond there, it's about helping others. So say, for example, you're a millionaire right now, but say you've got the potential to be a billionaire. Now imagine all of that extra money. What's it going to do? It's going to change people's lives, right? It's going to change the world. So make sure that you go out there and you earn as much as you can. Become the best at what you flipping do, earn the most amount of money you can, and change the people's lives around you, okay? That's what you're put here for. So write down 3 business goals. Then write down 3 relationship goals. So I don't just mean your one main intimate relationship, but I mean the other relationships, the ones you have with your co-workers, with your workers, with your staff, with your parents, with your kids. What kind of relationships do you want? You know, like right now, maybe they're not amazing, maybe they're not fulfilling, maybe they're not passionate. You know, you need to be able to live life in a passionate state. You want to be a leader, an effective communicator, because the biggest gift in life you'll have is the art of communication. That's why I'm so passionate on teaching people how to speak, because I know that when you can communicate well, you can sell well, you can speak well, you can influence. So it is so important. So make sure that you have your relationships, the communication really kind of honed in. So pick the relationships in your life and say the goals you want in your relationships. And maybe, for example, in your intimate relationship, that maybe right now you haven't got that intimacy, or you haven't got that, you're maybe not spending as much time with each other as you want. So maybe a goal for you can be that in the next 6 months, I want to make sure that I'm having, date night every week, that I've got something to look after the kids, that I've got a better relationship with my kids, whatever it may be. But again, don't just put a better relationship, because that's not focused enough. I want you to have something specific, something really specific and tangible. Don't just say better relationship, don't say more money, because the world will throw £1 at you and that's more money. Have a specific goal, right? And the next one is your environment. So the house you have, the car you have, the clothes you wear. Again, 3 specific goals on your environment. And then lastly, on your spiritual self. And if you're not spiritual, that's fine. Just call it happiness. Okay. So do you feel connected? Do you feel connected to whoever's up there, whether it's God, whether it's whoever you believe in? Do you really feel happy? Do you feel content? Have 3 specific spiritual happiness goals. So that's the 5 areas of your life: your physical part, your business, your money, your relationships, your environment, and your spirituality. Okay, so I hope you have created these 3 specific short-term goals for each of these 5 areas of your life. And now, because you've set the goals, what I want to make sure is, I want to make sure that you can make these real. That over the next 6 months, I want you to have the most fantastic journey to the new chapter of your life. But it all kind of starts now. Everything starts now. So if you want to make these goals real and you want to bring them into this world, the one thing which you really need to know is that the brain is not on your side. And when you understand that, then you can start harnessing the power of the mind. And for me to learn how important the mind was, I'm just going to take you back to about last year, July. What's happening? I was driving to my clinic. And see, can you imagine, this is my clinic, and I really didn't want to be there that day. And I remember calling in, and I hope they're not listening right now on this, but I remember calling in and speaking to my manager and telling my manager, look, I got a really bad stomachache. Now look, I lied, I didn't have a stomachache that day, but I really wanted, I didn't want to be there. So obviously my manager said, fine, look, we're going to clean your diary and you can leave by 11 o'clock. And I'm like, fine. So I got in, and because I told people I was sick, I know it was something wrong, but look, I'm just telling you the story now because I want you to understand the results of this, that I had to go into that place and I had to pretend I was sick. I had to really believe I was sick. So I got in there and I had to pretend I had this stomach ache. So I went in and I was holding my stomach and I was like, bending down a bit, and I was saying, oh, it hurts. And I really had to get into that state where I really believe that. Do you know when you were a kid and you like jumped off the sofa and pretended you're Superman and you like wondered why you actually didn't fly? When you're young, it's, you're working in a different memory zone, and I'm going to come to that in one of the later chapters. But at that young age, you can really imagine, and I wanted to imagine like that. So I imagined that I got a really bad stomach ache. So when my nurse saw me, I was like, oh, stomach's hurting. When patients came in, it was like, yeah, stomach's hurting. And by the time 11 o'clock came, guess what happened? I had a really severe stomach ache that for the rest of the day I wasn't able to do anything. And I thought, wow, look at the power of the mind. That I thought, if I can trick myself into becoming sick, what else could I trick my mind into? What if I could trick my mind into believing health, wealth, happiness, love, everything? Imagine where my life could be. So I started learning so much more and spending so much more time learning about the brain. I studied the works of people like Joe Dispenza, like Bruce Lipton, like Robbins, and I'm going to talk a lot about them as I kind of go along. But what it taught me is that the mind is made up of 2 parts. You've got your subconscious mind and you've got your conscious mind. The conscious mind is the 5% of the mind, and the subconscious part is the 95% of the mind. The 5% of the mind, which is the conscious mind, is the goal setter, but the 95% of the mind is the goal getter. So no matter what type of goal you set, if the 95% of your mind isn't programmed to be able to get you there, you'll never be able to get it. So you can say, you know what, I want a new life, right? I want a new personal reality, which is a new life. I want a new life, and that's it. But if your internal beliefs, if your subconscious part, I'm going to talk about beliefs in the following chapters, that if your internal part, I'm going to show you how to change your beliefs. I'm going to change all the beliefs you have which aren't serving you. I'm going to show you methods and skills of how to do. I'm going to show all of it to you in the coming chapters. But if your 95% of your mind, which your subconscious mind, says it's not possible, then no matter what your 5% mind says, you'll never be possible. So you can say that I want more money, I want a better relationship, I want a better relationship with my kids. But the thing is, if the 95% of your mind says, it's never happened, you won't do it, it's never happened in your family, whatever, then you'll never, ever be able to do that. So if you want to create a new life, which is a new personal reality, how do we do that? I want you to think about one thing, that every morning when you wake up, the first thing we normally think about is our problems. And do you know what each problem is? Each problem is linked to a memory. And what a memory is a memory is a circuit in the brain which is connected to people and things at a certain time or place. So what that means, it means that your brain is a record of the past. So the moment you start your day, you're already thinking in the past. Each memory has an emotion. Question is, what's an emotion? An emotion is an end product of a past experience. So when you recall a memory of the problem you've had, you feel unhappy, you feel sad. So if your state of being in the morning is in the past, because the brain's a record of the past, then what happens sooner or later is the familiar past becomes the predictable future, 100%. So then we think, why isn't my life changing? So what happens is, in the mornings, what's the first things we do? Well, you wake up and you have a routine, right? You wake up in the morning at the same time every day. You press the alarm with the same finger. You check your WhatsApp, you check your Facebook, you take a picture of your feet, you check your Instagram, and now you feel connected, right? Now you feel connected because that's what you do every day. So now you feel connected to the life you have. And then what happens? More habits, right? You get out of bed on the same side, you go to the toilet in the same way, you have a shower in the same way, you go down, you have the same kind of breakfast and your coffee in the same kind of mug, in your favorite mug, and you drive to work in the same way. You do the same work every day. You meet the same kind of people who press the same emotional buttons. You drive home in the same way. You come home, you check your email, you have your dinner, and you go to sleep. And every day you hope your life will change. But did your brain do anything new that day? So by the time we're 35, we function like a computer program. So what it means is that when you want to set a new goal, like I want to make more money, I want better health, the conscious mind, which is the 5%, says yay, but the 95% of the mind is working on a totally different level. And that's the reason why we find it hard to change and actually to create a new life. So to have a new life, we actually need to become a new person. So what that means is your personal reality doesn't shape your personality. And what I mean by personality, it's the person you are, but rather it's your personality which shapes your personal reality. So now as we kind of move into the next chapter, there is so much I want you to take on board with chapter 1. But I now want to start putting in these 5 main key areas which are going to allow you to start living the life of your dreams. I hope you found so much value in chapter 1. Please go back and make sure you've got your goals, you've got what your 4-minute mile is. Get all these things down and then move on to the next chapters. Make sure you've got a pen with you, a paper with you. Make sure you're taking notes. Make sure you've got the energy. Remember what I said, that energy and emotion, when you mix that with information, it lasts. It stays. So I want you to make the most of this. I want you to have this most amazing life, and you can have this in the next few months. So it all starts now, okay? Before we move on to the next chapter, make sure you've taken everything on board. Go back, maybe listen to this one again. Repetition, okay? I'm going to meet you on the other side on chapter 2.